So I just got back from the cinema, like literally just walked in the house, having just watched Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I wanted to get my immediate thoughts recorded. This probably isn't going to be a full review. I'm probably going to label this like first impressions, because that's essentially what this is. This is my first immediate thoughts having watched the movie, and these thoughts could change over the next couple days as I think about the film more, and if I do end up seeing it a second time, the thoughts may change and it may help me gain more clarity on how I feel about this film. But my immediate thoughts walking out of the cinema is mixed. I had mixed feelings about this film, and throughout the film I kind of had mixed feelings. It's strange because just something didn't seem right whilst watching this film. Something seemed a little off, and obviously T'Challa's not there. That's the thing we know about, so it's not, I don't mean it in the sense that, you know, T'Challa and Chadwick's not there so it just feels completely off, although that is the case, that's the expected thing. But something else just didn't seem right, and I'm trying to put my finger on what it is, and I might need a couple days to really gain clarity on what it actually is that's just felt a bit weird about this film. It felt very messy to me. It felt quite messy, quite convoluted. There's a lot of things going on. I like the core themes that this film tries to focus on, which is like grief and how grief can change someone and how you've got to let go of that grief and confront it head on in order to overcome it. I like those themes, and I like the parallel of those themes that are explored between the Wakandans and the Atlanteans and Namor. I like that. But somewhere amongst that, the execution just felt a bit off to me. And so did kind of like the pacing of the film, or the acts themselves. Like the acts didn't feel as well developed as they could have been, in my opinion. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy the film, because I was enjoying the film as I was watching it, but I still had that kind of thought in my head that just something is a little off here. And it's not as sharp as I would have expected it to be coming from Ryan Coogler, and that's on the direction front and the writing front. It just feels like there was a lot of stuff that this film was trying to get done, and there were some layers to the story that I feel like if they stripped them away, it would have allowed the film to focus on its core narrative with the core characters a bit better, develop that better, and it would have then resulted in something a lot more impactful in the end. And it's a shame because, yeah, there are elements of this film that I did like, you know. The first act, you know, or in fact, the way that the film, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the way that the film honors Chadwick Boseman, per se, the ways in which they decided to do that, I thought were very nicely done. But for some reason, yeah, the story itself, it just feels a bit muddled with what it's trying to do. And by the end of it, and by the time it reaches the third act, it feels like it's the third act confrontation. There's a big set piece on a ship. You'll see it in the trailers. That sequence is incredibly short. Like the main bulk of the action that happens on that ship that they kind of build up to in the trailer, incredibly short. I'm talking like 30 seconds to 1 minute long. Like, and that was very disappointing and underwhelming. I found Wakanda Forever to be visually underwhelming in certain aspects as well. I believe it's called The Volume. I may have that name completely wrong, but that kind of revolving kind of background that they use for like almost the CGI backgrounds that they did on The Mandalorian and with the Batman, etc., and that Marvel started using with like Thor, and it looked really bad. It's very clear when they're using that in this film, and I hate how they do that really strong depth of field look, because it makes it so obvious when they're using it, and it doesn't make the environments blend with the actors that well at all. And this film has that quite a few times where the backdrops of Wakanda just don't look real, and it's not believable because there's that strong like bokeh blur on the background of the scenes, and it kind of ruins the visual look. Other aspects of the visuals look pretty nice. Some of the costume design and like hairstyles that they had going on with certain outfits, I did like that a lot. Some of the humor worked quite well as well. You know, this is a film that does tackle quite heavy themes, you know, of loss and grief, things like that. But it was balanced out with some well-placed humor for the most part. You know, I kind of get a bit fed up with the way that Marvel does humor, but this film has a stronger strike rate when it comes to the humor, in my opinion, and there is less of it overall, so it's kind of like sprinkled within. There's some new characters that get introduced that I liked, and Namor I think was a great villain. I think what they did with him, he might be the highlight of the film. And the performance, I don't know the actor's name, but the performance from the actor was great. I think Namor was one of the true standouts of the film. And there's also another scene in the film, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a scene between two characters. It's kind of a surprise. And it's one of those things that prior to the film coming out, I kind of thought, oh, I wonder if they're going to try and do this thing. You know, it's one of those things that you think about, they could potentially do this thing. And they ended up doing it. And the result for that scene was a real intense, surprising sequence that had me on the edge of my seat, and that is definitely one of my favorite scenes of the film, if not the favorite scene of the film for me, besides from like the tributes to Chadwick. And if you know me well, you'll know what scene I'm talking about when you see it. I really love that scene, and that scene almost made me kind of wish that the film would take a different direction. And there are also certain stuff that they allude to with, there's things they allude to with certain characters like Shuri in this film, in terms of a kind of darker energy, a kind of darker desire. And I kind of became really intrigued with that aspect of it. But I feel like they didn't utilize that enough. I didn't play about with that enough, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I'm going to say for now, because it is literally, I'm just spilling thoughts off the brain without much, real kind of direction to what I'm saying. I'm just letting the thoughts out. But yeah, I just wanted to like say, so first impressions of the film, having seen it one time, is mixed feelings. And I kind of felt that throughout the film. And it's not to say that there isn't good aspects of the film. There are good aspects of the film. There's concepts and ideas and thematic narrative threads that I think on paper are really good ideas and should work really well. And in some aspects of the film and in some scenes, they do work really well. But then in other scenes, it's kind of like underserviced for something else that might not really need to be focused on, if that makes sense. So like I felt like the film just didn't hit that emotional punch. It didn't give that emotional punch and that dramatic kind of heft. It didn't have that dramatic heft that I thought it would have had, given, the nature of this film, the circumstances it was made, the emotion behind it, in terms of the fictional characters and the real life actors and filmmakers and director. It just didn't have that emotional heft to it like I thought it would. So yeah, I've just got mixed feelings overall, to be honest. It's not a bad film, but I don't know if I would call it a great one either. Definitely not as good as the first one, in my opinion. I've seen some people say that they think it's better than the first. That's fair enough for them. But for me personally, I knew as I was watching it, and then by the time it ended, I knew for certain, yeah, this is not on the same level as the first one for me. But that's my thoughts, immediate thoughts of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And this is the weird thing. I usually go and watch films multiple times at the cinema anyway. Even if I'm a bit, even if I don't love the movie, sometimes I go back and watch it a second time. I just love the cinema, and I love that experience. And I do like seeing films multiple times in the cinema. But I don't have a strong desire to go back and watch this again. Not immediately anyway. And I will watch it. I know I'll watch it a second time, because I'll probably go with family and things like that. But I don't have a big desire to go back and watch it. So depending on how my thoughts process over these next couple of days depends on when I'm going to actually review the film and do a follow-up video to this with more clarified thoughts. That may be within the next few days after I've thought about it over the weekend, or it could be like at the end of next week, maybe, if I end up seeing the film during next week. But I just wanted to give out my initial thoughts to this film, because I kind of had a lot to let out. But yeah, comment below, let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy the movie? What did you like? What didn't you like? And I'll catch you guys soon.